Today on Locked On Rockies, now that the lockout is over, how will the Rockies address these major questions, especially when they're firing people still?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans. Welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 11th day of March, the first day of spring training for the 2022 season. I am your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you all sorts of Rockies news, tidbits, information, all sorts of great stuff here every day as part of the Locked On Rockies podcast. You can find me on the airwaves in Seattle as well and on the internet at paulfholden.com. Today on Locked On Rockies, well, the lockout is over. Players are reporting. Now what for the Colorado Rockies? What are they looking at in terms of moves? Are they going to make moves? What are the big questions surrounding the team? We're going to talk about that, as well as finishing up our rankings of the Rockies in terms of the rest of the division. So let's start here. Boy, oh boy. No, it is it's so nice. I love it. I mean, I know it's late. But hey, it is all about those pops of the gloves, the nice spring batting cage moments. All the beat reporters you saw were out there at camp sharing their videos as the pros were filtering in as spring training is underway. We should be excited as baseball fans. We should be happy and glad that baseball is back. But my last little wrap up on the end of the negotiations, and unfortunately my mic did not pick up the right one. I'm going to double check that my mic right now is recording the correct one. I hope it is. I don't think it is. I'm going to change it right.
Da-da-da. That should be better. That should be much better. I knew it wasn't. Anyway, now that my microphone is fixed, the beauties of recording these podcasts live now, let's talk about the whole idea of games being canceled. What a bunch of baloney that was, huh? All 162 games. We aren't seeing all the cancellation games, and pretty crazy how that happened. I would just like that everyone understands and reflects on the fact of that part of this. I'm glad a deal got done. I'm glad that they were able to make things happen. There's better people than I to give you the nuts and bolts from the business side, but I just want to take I think it's funny. I think it's hilarious that we were threatened with canceled games. We were told games were going to be canceled if these deadlines weren't going to happen. Deadlines got moved, deadlines got changed, and no games got canceled. I find that interesting. That if that doesn't show that there was a load of hooey going on in terms of these negotiations and things of that nature, then if they can just say, if they can throw around the idea of canceled games of all this stuff, and then they don't cancel any games, and the only people that were impacted were the spring training folks and all the people that work at those facilities, that just seems a little messed up to me. It seems a little messed up that we were taken for a ride in the fact that owners messing or had these big threats for us, the fans, and then yet no. It's just a little weird to me. Obviously, we don't need to dwell too much on that. I don't want to put a damper on these things. It's just something that I thought was one of the most interesting things about the end of the lockout and the lockout proceedings. Anyway, Rockies camp. I mean, boy, oh boy. First things first, the flood of free agents that I kind of thought was going to happen and signings that were going to happen have not happened yet. I'm seeing a lot of Chris Bryant trending. I'm seeing the Dodgers trending as well. But it's mostly just, where are these players going to land? So the first question is, will the Rockies make any sort of a move in free agency? I think there's just simply no excuse. There's no reason for the Rockies to again do nothing. We can't sit. If there is no moves made during this free agency period, the Rockies clearly have not figured out their plan. Whatever they wanted to do with their analytics guy, Scott Van Letten, clearly didn't work. They didn't like that. But if they're just going to sit and say, and give us the classic, just feed us the classic Rockies line of we just need our guys to play better, this roster is not constructed to compete with the rest of the NL West. And really, I had a conversation on Twitter a little bit too. The loss of John Gray is something that I think the Rockies are really going to fight for. Who is going to fill the position of John Gray when you already had the 5th spot in your rotation a question mark at the end of last season? Letting John Gray go is going to have more impacts on this team than we think. The Rockies will miss John Gray this year. I don't think John Gray is going to go out and completely turn around into some bona fide crazy ace. I'm just saying the Rockies are going to regret not having a solid middle of the rotation guy when they needed him, especially to keep this rotation afloat while you figure out that 5th part or that 5th arm. The Rockies simply cannot stand by and do nothing. And they cannot sit by and simply tell us nothing. If I'm getting anything new from the Schmidt era, even if it's more of the same, I want to be told what the heck is going on. I want to be told why these are the plans that the Rockies are doing. I want to be told as a fan straight up what's going on. I know you can't tell me everything. I know you can't delve into every business thing. I'm not asking for all of that information. I'm just asking for what is the in the minds of the front office, the specific players on the roster, and the specific things that those players on the roster need to do better in order for this team to think that they are capable of taking down the Dodgers and the Giants and winning the West. Because let's start there. Before the Rockies can get to a place of winning the World Series, they should focus on winning the West. Sorry, my pup has a bit of a bum foot and has a serious dream going on, and I thought she was hurt again, but no, just a dream. Anyway, the Rockies with these holes that they allowed to be vacant through inactivity in the trade deadline last year and nothing pre-lockout, and then as I know it's early, but as of now, as of recording, nothing. And just kind of some ties there. Are they going to go for Conforto? Are they going to go for Schwarber? Are they going to be actually in on the Chris Bryant deal? What will the Rockies actually do? And do you, the Rockies fan, have faith in them actually making those deals? I don't. Personally, I need to be surprised that they actually will do something. I know what the Rockies should do. The Rockies should go out and get one of these outfielders, sign them to a 3-year deal. Give you time until Veen and Benny are closer to being ready. Or if you don't go, sign someone that can pitch in free agency. I don't know who's even. Let's see, free. Because I didn't even think about that. I haven't even considered the fact that the Rockies are still going to be needing someone to come in and pitch for them. They're not going to go out and get, any of these major arms. They're not going to go out and get all the stuff. I mean, let's see. Danny Duffy's there, Willie Peralta, Kikuchi. I mean, Kikuchi struggled, but with Seattle last year. Are they going to go after Tyler Anderson again? I mean, there's not a ton of names that are necessarily like, whoa. And then are the Rockies going to get them again? That's the one that's biting me in the butt more and more. Trevor Story, I understood, but the John Gray stuff, as we now are getting closer and closer to baseball, is just kind of irking me a little bit more. But those are the two big questions. Really, that's the big question. How do you fill the holes that you have on your team? How do you generate more offense? And this team, the way it's constructed right now, is not going to score more runs than it did last year. And this is a team that's going to struggle more on offense. Let's talk more about potentials, the questions that we see with the Rockies now. But first, got to tell you about our friends at Built Bar. Built Bar is the perfect thing if you're looking for a candy bar replacement. If you are someone that needs a snack but isn't wanting to stick with the usual meh classics, get you a Built Bar or even the Built Bar Puffs, the protein-infused marshmallow, the first ever protein-infused marshmallow, I might add. Built Bars are all covered in 100% real chocolate, low calorie, high protein. You can get the better Candy bar. It's basically what it is, but it's much better for you. And you can check out all the macros online at built.com. 130, most Built bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. And like I said, you want to see the full macros charts, you head over to built.com and see for yourself. And while you're at built.com, why don't you use the promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order? That's 15% off at built.com using the promo code LOCKED15. Use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Built.com. Get you your next favorite protein bar. If the Rockies want to truly make a splash right here, right now, to kind of, I think, change the identity of the Rockies, they will go out and get one of these outfielders. And I think it's easier to convince an outfielder and to back up a dump truck of money. You're going to have to pay someone a lot of money. If you want a high quality free agent, which the Rockies usually don't get, you're going to have to pay money. And again, we can't sit here and allow the Rockies to bank off of a small town, small market team anymore. A top 10 team in attendance can spend money on free agents. I'm sorry, they can. They can make a deal. Trade. If you're not going to sign the free agent, declutter this outfield. Make a move to clean that up. And let's figure out what we're going to do with what we have. You have too many options in one area and not enough in others. Use your abundance of outfielders to replace the Trevor Story gap. Use your abundance of outfielders to get a fourth arm in your rotation. Again, will the Rockies do that? I don't know. I don't think so. I think they want to rely on just guys in the system because of Bill Schmidt's draft and develop. But however, have they developed anyone, and has the farm system turned into anything great yet? No. All these questions. There's far too many questions without answers yet. But it all started pre-lockout, and now, again, firing people, disarray. I mean, you couldn't even let the analytics guys last a year? Major differences? Then that clearly means the Rockies are hesitant to embrace all of the analytics that are being presented to them. Clearly, Dick Monfort and Bill Schmidt don't want to embrace a new style of baseball, which the Rockies desperately need to do. This was a new opportunity. Bill Schmidt had the opportunity to come in and change the identity, and so far, it's the same. It's more of the same. We have questions all the time. We don't hear anything from anybody. We just got Dick Monfort out there running the negotiations. How that had still happened, I don't know. Rockies fans need to be cautious about this season. There's a potential and there's some options that can make this the team better than we might think, more surprising. There's elements of this team that are good. However, we cannot kid ourselves when we look at the competition in the division. If the Rockies honestly, legitimately believe themselves as title contenders with this roster constructed and the people in the farm system, that's just not correct. It's just simply far off. Rico Baker in the chat says, sadly enough, development doesn't matter if every star you develop ends up feeling manipulated and lied to. That's it. How do you build... As Bill Schmidt, how do you think your tenure as GM that's already rocky, the position of GM is rocky within the Rockies, huh? How are you building that by not really handling the trade deadline well, not handling the John Gray situation well, not handling the communication with Trevor Story well, not handling being in the organization and the Nolan Arenado deal? I mean, there's a lot to make up for. The Rockies as an organization have a lot to make up for. They have a lot to show us as fans. And you know what? I'm not telling you, I'm not trying to go on the lockout thing, but I'm saying as a Rockies fan, I'm expecting way more from my front office than I am from my players, because I want my front office to commit and dedicate to actually saying what this team is in their minds. I want them to develop talent. I want them to develop talent better. I want them to develop more talent. If that's your thing, I want you to be better at it. I want you to embrace analytics. I want you to bring people in that will help you develop your team. And firing a guy that is well-loved, well-known, and well-regarded in terms of baseball and analytics, firing him after 7 months doesn't make me feel better. hiring a GM from within the organization after the tumultuous GM in beforehand doesn't make me feel better. Having our owner, the Rockies owner, be part of the ownership team that just was in those deadlines and being part of a face that that delayed spring training until now, ruined spring, the usual spring training stuff, and led to a delayed season. That doesn't make me feel good. So what are the Rockies going to do to make me, the Rockies fan, to make you, the Rockies fan, not only feel good, but confident in this team? I want to be again, and my confidence in this team isn't going to come from only playoffs, World Series, and this. My confidence in this team comes from when I can see a direction and I see a path and I see that the Rockies are getting better, just like I saw before 2017 and 2018. What are the Rockies going to do right now to make sure that they are on the path to becoming a better baseball team? They have to. They cannot continue a status quo, because the status quo for the past 2 years of seasons of Rockies baseball has been bad. Has overall been bad. What are the Rockies going to do to fix it? Like I said, it's not the worst. It could be worse, but it could be better. The Rockies could still be in a different position even after the Nolan Arenado trade. It doesn't have to go that far back. It starts at the trade deadline last year, because that's when we knew Bill Schmidt was in charge. That's really when you can say this era of Rockies baseball and be frustrated here. Again, you don't want to bring up the Nolan trade. Fine. Throw that out. The inactions at the trade deadline have set the team back further right here and now at the first day of spring training, because Trevor Story's not on the team or a team, and John Gray's not on the team. And the only things that the Rockies did pre-lockout was bring back people that don't fill those holes, the holes that you knew were coming. Clearly, the John Gray talks were more off than the Rockies thought. And the Trevor Story thing's we've known that story for a while. How are the Rockies going to get better, and how are they going to show us, the fans, that they are getting better? That I had all those questions I posted on Twitter, but again, that's my biggest one. Okay. Those are just kind of my Rockies-centric thoughts there. Let's rank the rest of the Rockies in terms of, we got defense, we got bullpen. Let's see. Let me got to get all of my things up here. But while I'm doing that, let me tell you about our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline is the number one spot, folks. Yes, the number one spot for all your betting needs. BetOnline has the number one odds, lines, everything you need now with baseball season coming up. I think what I'd like to do next week with our friends at BetOnline is we could look at some Rockies odds and lines. I think that would be fun to see, because I don't know what the overs or those things. We'll do that next week. Maybe look into some early Rockies bets. But BetOnline is the place to go for all things betting. I mean, if you want to bet on the NBA playoffs, the March Madness, everything full steam ahead with baseball going and going through, coming up, basketball and all this stuff, BetOnline is the place to go. BetOnline.net. That's where you need to go. It's where the game starts. And guess what? It's going to be right there, not only on your mobile device, but also in your web browser. And their new beautiful website has everything that you could possibly need to do all your betting needs. BetOnline, where the game starts. So we were basically going through as the Locked On team, and we were ranking in comparison to the division. And last week we talked, I mean, I should have done more about this week, but I really loved our prospect talk. But we were ranking our where our teams rank in the division. So we need defense, manager, and I believe bullpen. No, I think we talked about the bullpen, but we'll talk about the defense, and we will talk about the manager here in terms of rankings for the Rockies. If this was last year, this was with Trevor Story, I would say the Rockies would be a top 3 defending team. But this year again, I with no Trevor Story there, and even a down Trevor Story, with the question marks in the outfield, The Rockies could be better on defense depending this year. Trevor Story wasn't elite on defense last year. I have often thought that Trevor Story is underappreciated as a shortstop defensively. But you do have Gold Glove should have been Ryan McMahon. Brendan Rodgers, who I think is a phenomenal second baseman. Again, please no Brandon Rodgers and Ryan McMahon have their positions, and please let them be their positions. CJ Crone is going to play a fine first base. I'm not expecting Gold Glove quality from there. And then the outfield's going to have the speed and has enough defense, and Charlie Blackmon's not going to be playing out there. However, the young outfield and the current pieces, I don't see a ton of elite defense. I like Sam Hilliard's speed. I'm Tapia shown that he can play some good defense last year and use his speed as well. I think the outfield is where the Rockies kind of struggle a little bit. Elias Diaz is, and again, but most production from a catcher probably from Elias Diaz. I don't think Elias Diaz is going to be, in Gold Glove conversation for catchers, but I think he's fine there. Again, just like we've talked about a lot of the times with other players or with other things is are the other rankings. I think this is a fine spot for the Rockies to find themselves in that 3/4 position again. I don't know. The Dodgers have a lot of issues. I don't know if the Dodgers are necessarily the best on defense. The Padres have a lot of really good defense. They have a lot of errors though. So I'm going to put the Rockies right in that 3. I'm going to put the Rockies at the third best defense in the National League West. And as for manager, this is a tough one. I mean, I think Bud Black is the right manager for the Rockies. I think he's a little too committed to some of his pitchers and letting people in too long. I don't have enough. I don't know. Managers are managers. I don't necessarily. What a good manager is just someone that I think has a good relationship with his team and can get the best out of his players, and has someone that has the respect of the team and is a good leader. And I find Bud Black to be a fine leader. As for ranking Bud Black against the rest of the National League West, I'm not really sure how to do that. I don't know. It's very interesting to me. That one's a tough one. It's not as easy for me to do that in terms of manager. It's just what are we looking for in that category? I guess I appreciate what Bud Black has done for the Rockies and would be nice to maybe bring in some offensive minded folks to kind of get the Rockies going back there with Black being a pitching minded guy. But I don't think the Rockies pitchers are as good as they are the starters, especially without Bud Black. So I don't know. I don't necessarily know how to compare Bud Black to the other ones because I don't really know much to say. But can you really doubt that the Giants manager and Dave Roberts as well? I mean, for what they did last year, I like Buddy Black over the Padres, man. Again, I think 3 is the appropriate spot for the Rockies there too, in terms of ranking the manager. But yeah, as of now, let's do one last look here before we wrap up the show to see if anything has happened while we have been talking about this. The flurry of free agent signings has not happened that we thought, but let's see. Bum-ba-da-dum. Anybody, anything, anyone? No, I'm not seeing anything at the moment. No crazy lockout quite yet, but I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure teams don't want to be the ones that were the ones that said, hey, we were talking this whole time during the lockout. But anyway, folks, that's going to do it for me today here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Sorry, it's kind of been all over the place in some aspects today, but it's kind of how it's been the past a couple of days with baseball. And so, but we're happy to have spring training back, and we're happy to be bringing you guys Rockies podcast throughout the season. Make sure you follow us on YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube channel there as well while you're there. And you can find us on Twitter at LO Rockies. I'm at Paul Holden 33. Folks, until next time, go make Locked On Bets your second listen of the day. Go win some money with the fine folks over there and BetOnline. And until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.